My name is Siona Remley, and I once believed that the sleepy town of Eldermore, tucked between the wild pines of Oregon, was a sanctuary immune to the storms that tear through other people's lives. Life here was measured in seasons and simple traditions. Bonfires by the river, Sunday markets, and whispered promises carried on the wind. I grew up thinking that peace was my birthright, stitched into my bones like the scent of the rain-soaked woods. Motherhood had always been my dream, more vivid than any career ambition or worldly pursuit. When I gave birth to Elijah on a crisp October morning, it felt as though the universe had finally aligned in my favour. His arrival was not just a new chapter, it was a rebirth of everything I'd ever hoped to be. Holding him for the first time, I realised I had been living half a life until that moment. His tiny hand wrapped around my finger with a strength that defied his size, and with it, he rewrote my existence. I had imagined teaching him to ride a bike down our sleepy streets, reading to him under the old oak tree in our backyard, and watching him grow against the backdrop of golden fields and endless sky. Elijah was the beginning of everything beautiful, and I swore silently to the stars that no harm would ever touch him as long as I breathed. What I didn't know then was that the first threat to our world would not come from the outside. It would rise from within my own bloodline. From a betrayal so profound, it would carve new scars across the soul I thought I had already hardened. The woman who had once sung lullabies to me, who had stitched my childhood wounds and whispered reassurances when the night felt too big, would become my greatest adversary. In those early days, the world was still tender. Elijah's laugh was just beginning to emerge, bright and bubbling. I lived in a haze of sleepless nights and sunlit afternoons, breathing in every small miracle of his life. And yet, underneath it all, there was a gathering tension I couldn't name, a coldness slipping into conversations, a judgment I could feel more than hear. I told myself I was imagining things, that my mother, Serena Vale, was simply concerned, overly cautious, steeped in the traditions of an older world. After all, hadn't she raised me well? Hadn't she loved me fiercely? But love, as I would learn, can sometimes twist into something unrecognisable. It can become a weapon sharpened by fear, by control, by the desperate hunger for a life one could not have, or could not bear to see someone else live. I didn't yet see the shadows gathering around us. I didn't yet know that trust, once broken, becomes a chasm impossible to bridge. I didn't yet understand that even in a town like Eldermore, where the rivers run ancient and the mountains watch in silent judgment, betrayal can strike with the precision of a blade. What I knew, what I clung to, was Elijah. His heartbeat against my chest, the way his eyes found mine in a room full of noise. My son was my compass, my anchor, my truth. I would soon be tested in ways I could not have foreseen. But even then, I whispered it to myself like a sacred vow. No one will take him from me, not while I live. At first, it was small things. Serena would make passing comments, delicate as spider silk, but sharp enough to leave welts. "You look exhausted, Siona. Maybe you're not cut out for this on your own. Elijah deserves more stability than you can offer." Words spoken with a smile, but each syllable a calculated blow. I told myself she was just worried, that it was the anxiety of a grandmother, seeing her bloodline in the frail hands of a new mother. But deep down, the seeds of doubt were being sown, not about my ability, about her intentions. Serena had always been a force of nature, the kind of woman who controlled every room she entered without raising her voice. Growing up, I learned to survive her storms, to bend without breaking. But now, as a mother myself, I realized that bending was no longer an option. Not when another life depended on my strength. It escalated faster than I could have imagined. One afternoon, when Elijah was only 4 months old, I came home to find Serena in the nursery. Elijah in her arms, murmuring things I wasn't supposed to hear. "You deserve a better life than this. I'll find you a real family, one who can give you everything you need." The air left my lungs. I stood frozen in the doorway, a silent witness to a nightmare I hadn't known I was living. When she saw me, Serena didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She simply set Elijah down with an eerie calm and said, "You're making a mistake, Siona. You're not enough for him. One day you'll thank me." The words echoed through my mind for days, festering. I confronted her, trembling with rage I could barely contain. "How dare you?" I whispered, too broken for anything louder. "You're unstable," she said coldly, as if pronouncing a sentence. "I'm trying to save him from you." There it was, the truth, naked and brutal. She didn't see me as a capable mother. She saw me as a liability, a mistake that needed correcting. Anger boiled inside me, but beneath it was something far more dangerous. Hurt. A primal ache that the woman who should have been my protector saw me as disposable, that she believed she knew better, that she would dare to take from me the one thing I had ever loved without question. From that moment on, every interaction was laced with poison. She scrutinized my every decision, what Elijah wore, what he ate, when he slept. Every choice I made was a mark against me in a silent trial where she was judge, jury, and executioner. There are battles you see coming, and there are wars that creep in like a fog, blinding and slow. This was the second kind. I didn't realize we were already at war until it was too late to retreat. But if Serena Vale thought she could intimidate me into surrender, she had forgotten who she raised. I would not break, I would not bend, and I would not lose Elijah. Not to her, not to anyone. Some betrayals cut clean, like a blade slipping between ribs. Others shatter you slowly, as if your bones are being broken one by one. Serena's betrayal was both. I should have seen it coming. The way she lingered after visits, the cryptic calls I overheard, the papers she guarded like sacred texts. But part of me, the foolish daughter still desperate for scraps of her love, refused to believe she would cross the line. Until she did. I came home one rainy afternoon, the clouds stitched thick across the Oregon sky, and found Elijah's crib empty. At first my mind scrambled for rational answers. Maybe Serena had taken him for a walk, maybe James had come home early. But the silence in the house was wrong. The air itself seemed to be holding its breath. When I found the letter on the kitchen counter, my hands trembled so violently I almost couldn't read it. "Siona," it began in Serena's sharp, unfeeling handwriting. "You'll understand someday. I've arranged for Elijah's adoption to a family who can offer him the life you cannot. This is for his own good. You are not capable of giving him what he needs." I don't remember falling to my knees. I don't remember the animal sound that tore from my throat. All I remember is the white, hot clarity of purpose that roared to life inside me. She hadn't just stolen my son. She had decided that my love was worth nothing, that my bond with Elijah could be signed away with a few strokes of a pen and a phone call to strangers. My hands moved before my mind could catch up. I dialed James, barely coherent, my voice raw with panic and rage. He raced home, and together we tore through every contact, every agency, until we found the thread Serena had tried to weave in secret. It was worse than I thought. She had filed paperwork, forged documents, lied under oath. She had prepared everything to erase me from Elijah's life, to disappear me like a mistake she was too proud to admit. The police got involved, lawyers, social workers. It became a battle of words, signatures, evidence. But at its core, it was a war for my son's soul. I confronted her once face to face before the legal machinery swallowed us both. She looked at me, not with regret, but pity. "You're not thinking clearly, Siona," she said, as if I were a wayward child. "You'll destroy him out of stubbornness." I wanted to scream. I wanted to make her feel even an ounce of the devastation she had unleashed. But I didn't. Instead, I picked up the shattered pieces of myself, one by one, and built a weapon from them. I would fight her in court, in front of God and everyone if that's what it took. Because I wasn't just fighting for Elijah, I was fighting for the mother I had become, the woman Serena Vale refused to see, and I would not lose. Not this time. The day I walked into the courthouse, the world outside seemed unreal, just a watercolour smear of greys and muted greens. Inside, everything was sharp. The clang of doors, the cold, polished floors, the hush of people who knew they were standing on the edge of someone's life. James squeezed my hand before we entered the courtroom. His eyes didn't ask if I was ready. He knew I was. Ready wasn't the word anymore. I was forged, hardened, unbreakable. Serena sat on the other side of the room, her posture stiff, her face carved from marble. She wore her best clothes, her best mask, the concerned grandmother. But I saw the cracks. I saw the fear underneath the layers she'd spent a lifetime crafting. My lawyer, a woman named Taryn Holt, spoke first. She laid it all out without flinching. Serena's forged documents, the illegal attempts to bypass my parental rights, the manipulation, the deceit. Each fact hit like a hammer on an anvil. Each piece of evidence stripped away another layer of the myth Serena had built around herself. Serena's attorney tried to spin it, of course, tried to paint her as a concerned mother who had acted out of desperation. She feared for the child's well-being, he said, voice dripping with manufactured sorrow. She believed she was protecting her grandson. But truth doesn't bend forever. Eventually it snaps. I was called to the stand. For a moment, as I stood there under the sterile lights, I thought of all the times I had bowed my head to Serena's judgment. All the times I had swallowed my voice to keep the peace. All the times I had allowed her to define my worth. No more. I told them everything. Not just about the betrayal, but about the years before it, the slow erosion of my confidence under her cutting words, the constant need for approval she dangled just out of reach, the way she had tried to turn motherhood into a battleground instead of a blessing. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I spoke with the calm, lethal certainty of a woman who'd been wounded and lived to tell the tale. The judge listened. The jury listened. And for the first time in my life, Serena Vale was forced to listen too. When the verdict came, it was like the earth itself shifted beneath my feet. Guilty. Guilty of fraud. Guilty of perjury. Guilty of attempting unlawful adoption. Guilty of thinking she could play God with my child's life. She was sentenced to probation, counselling, and a restraining order that barred her from contacting me or Elijah. It wasn't the prison time some had hoped for, but it was something rarer. It was the formal, public acknowledgement that what she had done was wrong, that she wasn't the protector she had imagined herself to be. As Serena was led away, she didn't look at me. Good. Because I wasn't the same woman she had once tried to control. I was Siona Remley, mother, warrior, survivor, and this battle was mine. When the dust settled and the courtrooms emptied, I found myself standing in the wide, open silence of a new life. It didn't feel triumphant at first. It felt raw, hollowed out. The battles you fight to survive carve spaces inside you, spaces that ache before they heal. James and I packed up our small house near the edge of town. We didn't talk much those days, not because there was nothing to say, but because some things are too sacred for words. We simply moved forward, one box at a time, one breath at a time. I stared at Elijah sometimes, sleeping in his crib with his soft, even breathing, and wondered how close I had come to losing him. How close Karina had come to stealing the one thing that made my life glow from the inside out. But fear couldn't have the final word anymore. Love had to. We bought a little plot of land on the outskirts of Andover Creek, a wild place where the forests ran deep and the skies looked like open oceans. There, James and I built a home. Not a mansion, not a polished, sterile monument. A real home. Messy, loud, full of life. Elijah grew like wildfire, fearless and fierce. He had James's quick grin and my stubborn jaw. Some nights I rocked him under the stars, whispering promises into the dark. You are safe. You are loved. No one will ever take you from me. And those promises stitched the broken parts of me back together. James proposed on the first snowfall of winter. No crowd, no spotlight, just him, kneeling in the soft white hush, his hands shaking, his eyes burning with all the things I already knew. I said yes with my whole soul. Our wedding was a blur of pine trees, candlelight, and the sound of Elijah laughing in the arms of the people who loved him. Not because of blood, because of choice. Family, I learned, isn't just the people who share your name. Family is the people who show up, who stay, who fight for your happiness even when the world tilts sideways. In the years that followed, I rebuilt more than just a home. I rebuilt myself. I went back to school, started my own counselling practice for young mothers navigating toxic family dynamics. I poured every scar, every tear, every hard-won piece of wisdom into helping others find their way through the fire. I didn't erase my past. I honoured it. Every wound taught me something. Every betrayal sharpened my vision. I learned to live with the ache, to dance with it, not as an enemy, but as a reminder. I survived. Siona Remley survived, not as someone's daughter, not as someone's project to fix or break, as a woman who chose her own life and built it with her own two hands. When I look back now, it feels like another lifetime, like I am staring through a glass wall at a girl I used to know, a girl who thought love had to be earned, a girl who thought loyalty meant silence, a girl who thought surviving was enough. She was brave in her own way, but she didn't yet know that real strength is choosing yourself, even when the world tells you not to. If I could speak to that girl, I would tell her this: you are not wrong for wanting more. You are not broken for drawing boundaries. You are not selfish for saving yourself. Motherhood did not break me. It remade me. Elijah saved me long before I ever saved him. The moment I saw his tiny fists clenched against the cold air of that hospital room, something ancient woke up inside me, something no betrayal could touch, something no courtroom could steal. It wasn't just motherly love. It was sacred fire. The kind that tells you there is no price too high, no mountain too steep, no wound too deep to stop you from protecting what is yours. And maybe that's what real motherhood is. Not perfection, not endless sacrifice, but fierce, stubborn love. The kind that rebuilds you when you thought you had nothing left. Today, when I tuck Elijah into bed and kiss the soft crown of his head, I don't think about Serena. I don't think about betrayal. I don't even think about survival. I think about the life we built, brick by brick, scar by scar, a life made not from what we lost, but from what we chose. Love, truth, freedom. James sits across the room, his eyes catching mine over the top of a worn book. He smiles, and I smile back. Simple, whole, real. I know now that being a mother isn't about fitting into someone else's idea of worth. It's about becoming the warrior your child needs. And it's about being brave enough to be the woman you were meant to be. Not in spite of everything you survived, but because of it. Siona Remley is not a broken daughter. Siona Remley is a fierce mother, a builder of homes, a teller of truths. And as long as I have breath in my lungs, my son will know this. His mother fought for him. His mother chose him. And no shadow from the past will ever dim the light we found together. Not ever.